what type of content is this audience, what type of content resonates with this audience, or what type of interests based on the placements of coming via remarketing.
Got it.
So some of the remarketing, right, like these AdWords, AdSense words, we may get the same data as somebody connects their Google Analytics account. Example, because they'll have audience groups and categories that resonate with them, topics, categories, verticals. Or they do this sort of reverse engineering using AdWords. And one thing we discussed was how can that then be placed as part of the contextual keywords to the account team when they come in and run a second campaign or run a campaign in the same category. So it looks like around remarketing, we're just going to have to ask him to us.
Yeah, because it seems like you use remarketing both for, I mean, just from remarketing point of view, but also to gain additional insights about your audience and segments to then better target later down the line.
Exactly right.
That's
sort of how we're.
Oh, go ahead.
I said this earlier, but the only time that the targeting, so like a lot of what we do is intuitive, which we talked about yesterday, initially. But after the first campaign that we've run with a particular client, it's no longer intuitive because we have data to draw upon. So the remarketing piece of that just like further allows us to build upon. So the longer the campaign runs, it becomes like a well-oiled machine.
Right, and you're using that to then basically you're using the remarketing, what it remarkets on, as a way to understand neighbor categories, i.e. things that people who are in that audience tend to share. Like, for example, unboxing will then lead to like toys.
Affinities.
Or electronics.
Right, like identify new things that we hadn't thought of initially, like the road less.
Right. Cool.
So, and I think the other significant thing is that, and we won't know this for sure until you and I sit down and talk about it, but when they start doing cross-channel, what they do is they place the YouTube media first using their they will basically quote unquote translate it to Facebook or Twitter. But you know, each of those interfaces is different than YouTube, right? Like for YouTube, you might be able to scrape the individual placement's URL, right? And supply that. So we just need to, I think, take some time to be thoughtful about what cross-channel would really mean, meaning the YouTube, the DMP full of YouTube data may give us insights in which you're just going to have to execute on Facebook using Facebook's. Now, Facebook has custom keyword targeting where you can literally write in, you can fill in a custom category, if you will, or topic. It's possible that, you know, we might find using remarketing or any of these other optimization techniques that Brent uses is to better focus the Facebook campaigns. And the question is, how do we store that or keep that knowledge or to make it useful? Does that make sense? Like, we just need to think about what is the real relationship between Facebook and YouTube that is going to be developed based off of this sort of DMP that is being made.
Got it. Makes sense. Excuse me. Sorry.
I sent you a link.
Send me a link where?
Google Hangouts. Number 2.
Oh, there.
I'm gonna mute mine.
Now they're in like this. It's crazy because it's a totally different data. Sweet, and then you're at home. He's one.
Dave, can you hear us?
I hear you twice.
Dave?
Yeah, you're echoing.
Here, at our house, we don't have like fence around the yard.
Yeah. Me.
He's constantly trying to protect the property.
Dave, can you hear us?
Yes, but you're being picked up on both the mics.
Yeah,
Is yours muted?
I think it is. Yeah.
Just mute it.
Oh.
Hey, Dave, can you hear me?
Oh, way better. Yeah.
You can hear
No
me.
longer sounds like I'm on acid. Yeah.
Okay, so wonderful. So why don't you can log in and screen share, and I'm recording on mine.
Okay.
I just caught Dave up verbally of just areas we need to, when we get together, sketch out.
Okay.
So Britt, you want to take us through what happens when you, well, I guess you should take us through the DMP first.
DMP first. Okay. All right. Hey, Dave.
Hello.
See you again.
Likewise.
Thing I do is I go to Supermetrics. Action. Then it opens the screen, or actually an Excel page. It opens in Excel. I refresh the list over here. And this brings up all of our AdWords accounts under the master MCC. I select all of them. I split it by placement URL. I then choose the metric impressions. Select the start and end date. So it's for, this will be for yesterday, the 21st. So that both the start date and the end date will be the 21st.
Mm-hmm.
Set up a filter where I only pull in impressions greater than 1, because I don't want to pull, there's a multitude of URLs that have 1 impression only, and if they only have 1 impression, I don't really want it at this time in the data warehouse, just because it's probably not going to serve a lot of, it's not going to serve my mini ads, and it's also, the second reason is that there is a a time capacity restraint in how long it takes me to go through this whole process. So it takes me just as long to scrape on a placement that has, that served 1 ad as one that served 10,000. So I'd rather get make sure I get the high value placements first.
Right. You want
click
to
done. the quality stuff first, right? I go to the raw data report. I ask for everything summed up. Wait a few seconds. And so what this is going to give me then is every placement where we ran ads for the prior day. And have the URL for the next step. So copy, paste all these over. Because there are some non-YouTube impressions in here.
Yeah, because when a non-YouTube impression happens, what's the reason for that? It's just because like an
client is running across the GDN.
Got it.
So these are like GDN impressions. Yahoo, those are the placements across the GDN. We don't really want those for purposes of this.
Got it.
Okay, then the next thing I have to do is I have to replace the /video/ with /watch ? V equals, right? Because that's not how scrape. You can't scrape with /video/. I don't know why AdWords reports it like that, but you can't. It won't work. If you put something like, if you put that in the scraper, it will give you no. It won't give you a result.
Right.
And if you put the URL, it'll just convert it to this, to /watch.
Yeah.
So now I've got 25,000 placements, and there are a couple of different things I can do at this point. I can either run all 25,000 the scraper, or this list of 25,000 to what's already in the data warehouse and only run in the right. Sometimes I'll just run them all. If it's a small list, if it's like maybe 5,000 or less, I'll usually just run them all. And then I'll have fresh metadata anyway. So it's not a bad thing, but again, it's the time to scrape all of these. So in this case, since I've got 1,000, I will compare these 25,000 to what's already in the data warehouse. So to do that, I go into Navicat. I export of the URLs that are already in there. And I let this work for a few minutes. Once I have the list exported, I then go into Excel, and I basically just do a lookup. The lookup is a hit. Then I delete everything that's a hit. I delete all the URLs that are already in the data warehouse. If it's not a hit, go into Screaming Frog. So let's say however many of these were not hits. I would open Screaming Frog. Just export this one. So however many of these are, let's just say, I'll just take 25 for now. Go into Screaming Frog, update, okay, let it run, and it will pull all the metadata for those however many URLs that I put in.
Is your screen all pixelated?
Yes, it is. That was.
That's why I
There's-
noticed you popped into screen, so it's probably figured you were seeing the same thing too.
What's weird is how my.
But he's able to see it.
Thing
It's
that I
really
do.
pixelated. He can't see the detail.
Oh, it's pixelated. Oh.
Yeah, so we're just trying to
Well,
figure out.
Are you, what network are you guys on? Like a different network? Wait, maybe it's, what network are you on, Brent?
I'm just on, like, let me try Like a Boss 5G. Hold on. Okay. There you go.
Oh, there we go. It looks fine now.
Okay, so now I will export these. Open them, clean them up a little bit. What I do is I change the headings to correspond with the headings that I have in the data warehouse. So this is full URL. This is title. That's description. That's keywords. At the end, this is channel ID. Okay, now I'll save this as a CSV. Close it. Go over to Navicat. Import wizard. CSV file. Make sure I specify that the full URL is the primary key. And the populated with the 25 new placements.
Nice.
Unfortunately, it's free. It doesn't usually freeze. Okay. So now video data has new placements. And this is what it actually looks like. So I've got a service field, a video ID, title, the views, likes, video duration, the video category. The uploader is the
So like with
video URL, the channel ID attached to that video, the video description, video keywords. I should have the date in here as well, but I'm sort of struggling with dates in PostgreSQL, so the date of the video is not in there yet.
got it. And so that was my other question. So like the I noticed your time is literally like a string of time, so you're not converting that to seconds or anything like that.
One more time, Dave.
Like time, right now it's written like 1 minute and 15 seconds or whatever. You're not converting that at all. You're just doing straight up what's.
Oh yeah, yeah. That should be converted to time. Really, it's right now. It's just text.
Cool.
Views, likes, and dislikes. I think those are all integers though, so I can do manipulations with those if I needed to. So that's it. That's the process of loading. The data warehouse. It was quick in this case because I only ran 25 through the scraper, and it only had to load in 25, and I didn't wait for the full what we could eliminate that was already there. But it's a fairly straightforward process of getting these things loaded that way.
Cool.
I asked the question, Dave, if this is meaningful to you. So right now, the way you did it was you used the open accounts of your clients to see anything that they've run previously. You now have access to pull, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we, it sounds like one of the things we need to solve for is how do we get placements that we're going to pull through any scraper or whatever.
Right. So would you like me to show them that process now? Okay. So let's say we are working on a new vertical and I don't know, it could be, say skateboards. So what I would do then is I would go here, filter this by it's a little slow. There we go. Type, I would just specify videos because I'm only interested in videos. Sort it by the view count because I would want the higher view count. And then for me, I think there are 20 here at a time. I think it loads 20 at a time. And I use that's interesting. Oh, there we go. I'm sorry. Okay, so I have to right click on and then scrape similar. Okay, cool. All right, so that will give me 20 URLs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just go through this process, go to the next page, and scrape similar, and it'll give you all 20 URLs on that page. And just go through it over and over and over again until we get down to how many views that we have as the threshold. So skateboarding, there's a ton of stuff because this is like, I'm now to video 40 and they're still at 3.3 million views. So that's great. So we could probably get pages and pages more. And then I would just save these to export to Google Docs or copy to clipboard and copy and paste, and then paste in Excel and just have like a running list of these URLs.
Mm-hmm.
And then from at that point, once I have these URLs, I would plug those into Screaming Frog the same way I did before and get all the metadata base the way I did before.
Right.
The other way I was doing it was, let me see. So that's number one. There are 3 ways. 2 is with some, where is it? Well, that's loading. I'm actually going to make that. That's going to be number 3, and I'm going to show you another way. So I can go to, instead of YouTube, I can go to select videos only and settings. Means 100 results per page. That's the maximum. I can't go any more than that. Also specify Yeah. So any source, I want YouTube only. So I can't. So the one thing that I can't do here, I can pull 100 at a time. So now I can scrape 100 at a time here. But what I lose when I'm on Google.com and not ability to sort all of these by view count, because I don't have that view count option here. So that's number 2. Number 3. This like so infrequently now. I've forgotten even how to get there, but I was able to do it in. I did it in Python, but I got stuck at like 50. And so I basically gave up on that because it would just pull, if I put in into, if it was Spider, because I'd really like to show you. This might have been what I was using for R. Okay, so let's see. So I could put in skateboards here. Let's run. And then it should write a table here. And I'm going to actually run it again. I'm going to run it twice. Boards. Okay, and it gives me alts, and that's it. So if I go back and if I run it, configure it again, basically it gives me, okay, it gives me the same exact, most amazing, how to pick your first skateboard, different types of skateboards. Gives me the same 50, right?
Right. Because you're not, because you're just making the first query for the first page of results basically each time.
Exactly. Yeah. It's giving me the same. So I'm not using this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there must be some way to do it so that every time you run this, like looping it somehow, so it's not just pulling the same 50, but I mean, I can't figure it out in any reasonable amount of time because I'm not a programmer.
Sure.
So I'm hoping that this ultimately will be the way that we query the YouTube API and pull the metadata. So those are the three ways, and of those three ways, the vast majority of the time, we're filling the data warehouse through the first approach that I showed you, which is our placements that we're actually running on.
Pulling it from the other, you've maxed out, like, because at some point you've already run the placements,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I could go back even further in time, but they'd be a lot less relevant because the older a placement, an older a YouTube video becomes, less relevant. It's like becomes exponentially less relevant because people just they're watching content, right?
Mm-hmm.
You still might get some people because these videos live on YouTube forever, still watching it, but it's old news after a while. So it's just not going to serve that many views anymore. So what?
Great. So that's DMP. Dave, do you have any more questions around that?
No. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It makes sense.
Would you like to see how I query it at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
In your actual DMP, right?
So I've got a number of queries that I created here. And so every once in a while, we go through the data warehouse and do things like search for videos that may be lacking like a channel ID. So this is one query that would do that.
Why is it meaningful if something's lacking a channel ID?
So if we run on, there's a second scraper that I'm going to show you. If we run on Scrapebox, it will pull the fields up here. Pulls different fields than Screaming Frog. There's probably a way within Screaming Frog fields, but I'm not sure how to do it.
Right.
So in Screaming Frog, in their configuration, there's a way to extraction, and this I was able to figure this out myself. Path metadata starts with channel ID and pull out the channel ID data as an extra custom field. In an inordinate amount of time, I might be able to make some progress on it. I just can't do it.
Right.
So there's probably a way to a lot more efficiently in Screaming Frog. Pull, like, so if we want to pull using this Scrapebox, I get different things like the views, the likes, the dislikes, duration, category, stuff I'm not currently getting on Screaming Frog, but I don't get channel ID. So we pull a lot of stuff with this, and then we have to go back and figure out, well, where are we missing stuff? Where are we missing channel ID? And then if I pull on Screaming Frog, I have to go back and say, okay, well, where am I missing the view count? Things like this to constantly clean up the database. First, let's start with list. So to create the blacklist, I have a basic blacklist terms table, which is here. So not currently 992 terms. And then I'm going to delete blacklist output. So to create a new blacklist, and we constantly have to do this because every day as we add more videos to the data warehouse, blacklist terms will appear. So we have to refresh it as often as possible, if every day, ideally. So to create the blacklist, I have this query where I'm going to create a table, blacklist output, selecting everything from the video data table where it's joining on that terms table using the title. So I have to join on it's title, but you also want to look at, you would change this to keywords and run it. Also change it to description and run it. But on title probably gives you 90% coverage, but ideally we'd be running it and removing any overlaps. Okay, so I run this. Once the query is done, it creates up here a blacklist output table. Once the and then the same for if we want to whitelist. It would just be a matter of creating a table. So this is for a client NumNoms whitelist terms, and this here is NumNoms whitelist terms unboxing. So terms related to like surprise toy openings, mystery bags, Kinder eggs, surprise egg, and then competitors for this particular client, things like Hatchimals, Little's Pet Shop, Mash'ems, My Little Pony, and so on, Shopkins, and so on. Okay. Just use one of these create lists.
I think that was Dave's phone vibrating.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my phone. Sorry.
Came through loud and clear, Dave.
Yeah. This query is still running. When it's done, we'll get the blacklist, the new fresh blacklist output table.
Mm-hmm.
And this I think takes. It's been taking longer and longer as the data warehouse has been growing in size. So it may take 5 to 10 minutes now.
Yeah. And quick question. Sorry, quick like technical questions. So two things. One is your Postgre table. Are the fields indexed? Like, how are you indexing the data there, if at all?
Are the Postgres fields indexed?
Like for each of the fields, do you have indices set on them and like to help with the response times of doing these queries and filters, or are they just like straight up?
Let me show you, let me see. Object information. If that's helpful, I don't know that that's helpful. I'd also show you the design of the table. It's just all just either text or integer.
Yeah, if you go over to indexes at the top.
Yeah.
Like, have you done anything? Okay. So yeah.
No,
okay.
no.
That is why it is slow.
That's why it's slow.
Okay.
The indices help.
Yeah, so like you would want to index off of like the term, like you're doing text-based searches, right? So like you would want to do like a full text. I mean, don't do it now because it'll like don't break things. But
okay.
But like that would be one of the things that you could do to quickly speed that up is you would want to do a like full text index on the fields that you're doing the term like searches on, and that will help greatly with performance. As a side note. My other question is there a reason why you're executing that as a query that you're building each time rather than having like a stored procedure?
Well, I'm just executing the same query over and over again, and I don't know how to automate that. I don't know how to do like stored procedure.
Got it. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know until I started in this. I mean, I didn't know SQL. I took one class on, I think it was, which one of those? I don't know if it was Udemy. I think it was Udemy.
Udemy, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I just picked it up from like this class I took on Udemy. So that's the extent of like my SQL training.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Okay, so let me show you Periscope. Periscope is the front end for our internal team, and we show this to clients out on sales calls. Mm-hmm. So here is, so for example, here is a blacklist table. It'll show 5,000, like a maximum of 5,000 at a time. So we show things like this. We'll show like, oh, you know, you can look at all of the horrible content that's living out there on who would not want to be on. She gets caught.
Who wouldn't want to be on that one?
Wow,
I just love,
she gets
I love
caught.
big ass spider trailer. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of, it's good. It's good for shock value. And then we have another subset of the blacklist, which is just explicit content. So maybe some clients may not find those as objectionable, so we can choose to not blacklist if it's under the music video category.
Right. Like, so like if you had like Smirnoff, for example, they probably wouldn't care.
Yeah. Like fat. So fat we have because fat shaming. We have fat like blacklisted, but Fat Joe obviously would be fine.
Right.
Piss jeans. It all depends on the depends on the content.
Yep.
Right. Or the context.
Right.
Context. Yep. And we have like toddler focused content, and toddler focused content's a big deal for me because I have a daughter and she's constantly being misserved ads. And like the other night, she was misserved I think I told you yesterday the trailer for the movie. So this is stuff like even if you're selling children's products, you really wouldn't want to be advertising on Finger Family anyway because the demographic's just too young. Then I do other stuff. I like to play around with it. I like to try to see, well, what are the top placement categories? Who are the top by placement count, top 100 channels by total video view. This is something I just ran the other day. Total views by, yeah, that's what struck me about it. Music is
and over what period of time is this?
This is over everything that's been in our database from inception. So out of a trillion, so we have 1 trillion views, not ad views, but 1 trillion. The videos that make up our data warehouse have accounted for 1 trillion views, 146
almost 40%,
billion.
About 40% of it is music.
It's music, and then this 200+ million entertainment. Wow. I would wager most of that is children's. So about 60 to 70% of YouTube is just, by view count, is children's content and music videos.
Well,
and even education.
Hang on a second.
And it's just the
Can we
content
just
itself.
put this into context a little bit? On our current campaigns, which are music and children and
Yeah,
heavy.
that's true.
So this is really
So-
good information because
But
it's
this is the
based on
subset that
views.
you've placed on, right?
Yeah.
So it excludes a bunch of other content that you consider to be not relevant.
All the content.
This is all the
based on all
content.
the content that's in the database, but the information from the database
Yeah, but
is
it's-
coming from our campaign, which is kid campaign,
Yeah, but
All right.
and the other.
I think
20% music focus. So it's
Right.
a little bit like I still think that this is interesting with a grain of salt because I would say it's safe to say that YouTube is still primarily music videos. That's 70% of the content.
I will wager. Let's make a wager somehow, and we're going to have to decide how we ever settle this. I would say it's over % of the views are music video content. I really believe that. And this
videos or children's.
Yes, together will account for 70%. Hey, Dave, I think this is important because this will give us a sense of the inventory availability to sum up that are out there. So imagine we have a group of keywords and we are pulling placements. We would also want to sum up those placements just to get a sense of how much stuff we're finding and how big of a audience has. So there may be an application in the for things like this for summing views across.
Cool. Yeah.
What we see when I'm running. So if I run a campaign, if I was just to set up a campaign broadly across affinities, and I'm choosing to market to, let's say, pop music fans, majority of delivery would be on music videos. So if I'm not specifically blacklisting the music video topic or blacklisting the affinity pop music fans, let's say, music videos will serve more than anything else because there's just more views there. That's, you have your inventory availability by and large. Other place, it's music videos. So if a client doesn't want to be on music videos, there are things we can do to avoid that. And music videos will give you by far the most efficient. And again, it's just something to sort of think about, and it's nice to see it like this, like see the actual numbers and be able to put data behind what I've always sort of felt and what I see when we serve ads.
So is it important for your account managers to see it, to eyeball it?
Potentially, it's definitely important for us to understand, and it's important for the client as well, I think, to understand, because there's a trade-off involved. Going to be maximizing, let's say, if they really just want to maximize their cost per view and just get the possible, they have to understand the implications of that they'll be running on a lot of music videos. If they want to music videos entirely or to a great extent, we can easily do that for them, but they'll be paying more than they otherwise would. And, you know, I think it all comes down to the, you know, the wishes of the client, like they're prefer to be, right, on YouTube.
Right. The one thing I would say as the pessimistic math person is I would be cautious about selection bias on these data points, and just making, because the way that you've accrued this data, if I'm following all the processes correctly, is you're effectively doing it based off the placements that your clients want and optimizing towards it. So like the data that you have is going to skew towards what performs for those clients. So it may not be, which I think is what was being said earlier, may not be truly representative of YouTube because it's not a random like sample set.
Yeah, it's not the YouTube universe, right?
Right.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. Like, it may not be for the true edges, right? Because I guess the question is, of the YouTube universe that they've pulled in, is it representative?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So by sample size alone, potentially, but you're right. Like, it may only truly describe, I don't know, 60%. I have no idea. I'm guessing. Point. And the question is, are there better methods for us to be finding the diversity of addressable videos in YouTube? Right?
Yeah. I mean, ideally, this is my perfect universe wish. We would every day to go onto YouTube and search just for videos that were uploaded in the prior day. And if those videos have achieved a certain view threshold, it's 1,000 to begin with, we would then be able to connect with the YouTube API, metadata from those videos, and immediately get them into our data warehouse. The most recently uploaded content, the freshest content, tends to get, I said prior, relative to older content. So if we were able to do that, like every day, just get every new video over a certain threshold of views across all the categories of YouTube, that's like the ultimate, that's like the holy grail of getting this database built right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think the question, I think that might be important when it also comes to, what if you don't even have that inventory? What if you guys are forced into a category where you don't even have that inventory, right?
Right, then we have to scramble and try to like scrape YouTube the way I was showing.
Yeah. Totally, exactly. So we would want to figure out what's that right cadence of just newest, which random assortment, right? Versus building your history for clients.
Yeah.
So that just seems like a We'll just have to be thoughtful about that, Dave.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Okay, so I can show you the blacklist output is ready now in Navicat. So we are up to any blacklist terms we're up to now. Blacklist of, let's see. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Thousand now. URLs that qualify for our blacklist. You can see this stuff here.
Sharon Tate Murder House.
Yeah.
Nice to know that that's a topic that comes back every year for the last 2 years.
So again,
hillbillies.
And then we have stuff like, so we want to avoid like Big Bang. So obviously you have bang in there as a blacklist term, but in the context of the Big Bang Theory, it's fine. It shouldn't be on the blacklist.
Do you manually go through and move them? Like,
That's
move them off
that's too much work. So what the blacklist, it's better to make, it's better to be conservative, include more. Even if you're going to lose a few views on some of these things like that, it's better to include more in the blacklist. So yeah. But it needs to get, the blacklist needs to get smarter.
Yeah, we talked about having flags, like putting some sort of like systematic flag in place so that if something came up in a blacklist, it was actually okay. It as okay, and it wouldn't come up as a blacklist.
Did you hear that, Dave?
No, I did not. Sorry.
Did you hear that?
I was saying we talked about having systematic flags in place. This is just an example. There's like a handful of different would like use for flagging. But one would be a system, like a flag in place where if something came up in a blacklist, but we manually reviewed it and said this is actually okay, it's not objectionable, that we could flag it and to not show up in a blacklist again.
Right.
Same way, if something, what's an example? If something had the title in it, Peppa Pig, which is a cartoon, and the video, well, how do I explain it? Peppa Pig, and the tags say Peppa Pig live on the Peppa Pig channel, then it's potentially objectionable and it needs to be flagged. Review, and then if we review it and it's okay, then we can say it's okay. But stuff like that happens all the time where things are mislabeled, not videos that we should be running ads in front of, but because the way that we currently are identifying placements and metadata, it's showing up as okay even though it's not. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we do need to think about, yes, us. I don't know. It sounds like we're thinking about how do you blacklist placements versus terms, although you need the terms as a filter. Blacklist,
Filters or
right. But I think that that's something we'll end up solving as we automate this stuff.
Just something to think about.
Yeah, no. That totally makes sense, yes. Dave, more questions?
Nope, all makes sense.
A whitelist, blacklist as it comes to questionable content. Can we talk about how you're adding to the whitelist and blacklist things like reach and frequency for some of your clients, or your, how you're looking at tricks to say what's performing well and not performing well?
Okay. So,
or maybe how you start a campaign. Let's just do it.
Might be, yeah, might be better just
right.
to take it from the beginning at this point. So
You guys there?
Okay, so what you're looking at here is the targeting document that the accounts team prepares for me. And this is for a recent campaign that I just got set up. So we've got in this campaign, so we load up a backlist, which is done. It's actually the process of loading it. We have a script working where there's a connection between, so Periscope, you refresh, okay, so list in the database by running that query. It then goes, it also lives in Periscope, and there's another connection between Periscope and the Google Sheets is linked in with our AdWords account. So the AdWords account, Google Sheets document, and anywhere we've assigned an account label general blacklist, that blacklist to the campaign. So that process is actually pretty well automated, and in fact it was our account manager who came up with that process in AdWords to make it easier to take my blacklist and get it installed in a campaign. So
You want to see that, Dave?
Mm-hmm.
Dave,
Yeah.
do you
Sorry,
want to see this process that Chris has created?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Yeah,
Dave, are you there?
Yes. Can you not hear me?
And I just wanted to ask you, do you want to see this process that Chris, the account guy, has automated? That it sounds like there's an Excel sheet that.
Yes. For like yes. I was saying yes. not yes like I hear you. Yes, like I would like to see it.
we thought you were saying yes to can you hear us and not yes to would you
Oh.
like.
okay, I'm gonna ask Chris if he can come back up
Cool.
because he's the best person to show you this. While I'm waiting for him, why don't I show you the process
Yes.
I use
Of course.
to pull this data into Supermetrics and optimize. Let me pick Supermetrics back up.
And Supermetrics is what you built. Supermetrics is what you built. The data graph.
No, I have not built this.
Okay.
No, this is a web add-in, I should say. So find the account with the campaign that I want to optimize. Chris. So the campaign I want to optimize is NOMs. So I come down to NOMs. highlight it. So we launched this campaign on Monday. So I wanted to pull from the 19th, and I normally don't like to optimize like a midday, but we don't have a lot of data. I'm just going to pull from Monday through wherever we are today. So June 19th, June 22nd. So, do that device. Okay, so this is one way to do it, metrics. But supermetrics, unfortunately, does not have all the dimensions I need to do all the optimizations. And I'll show you what I mean. Doesn't have earned subs, doesn't have earned views, and those are important inputs optimization process. So supermetrics is sometimes for optimization, but the primary value of supermetrics to me at this point is very quickly pulling all the placement URLs for all the delivery that we do. So then it would pull out for me, in this case, it can take pull data for me by device. And impression? Yeah, so and I'd like to do scale them so it's very easy. in using like a tool to assist me pull the data out, I still have to go through this process where I have to drop it in, format it, do all of the calculation fields, basically set it up so I can analyze it. Go through it and get a sense of the sort of devices dominating any others. And generally, this is generally what you would see. Computers tend to have a higher view rate, which they do here, and mobile tends to have the highest. There's no significant difference among any of the three platforms or any of the three devices on cost per view and cost per click. As you would imagine, mobile is by far the lowest on. So it's just to get like, it's a time-consuming process. To do the ad groups themselves and to get that information out and formatted, that is even more time-consuming. And this is an older one. So this would be an older one that I had already optimized.
How do you find earned impressions and earned subs?
AdWords reports on that.
Okay, so you're pulling in from AdWords.
Yeah. Basically, this is all the data here. So these are the ad groups for a past campaign. This is all the data: impression, views, click costs, earned subs, earned views, and earned actions. And in this case, the clicks were going off YouTube, so there weren't a lot of earned. But you have to formula for translating earned subs, or basically weighting earned subs and earned views, because an earned sub, you get far fewer earned subs than you do earned views. You might get 1 earned sub for every 25 earned views. Formula, should there been an earned sub, it would have been weighted at 25 earned views. So that's just a matter of coming up with a relationship, like a ratio between views, and applying that ratio, so your standard is everything. So in this case, downloaded all the data, out the view rate, CTR. This is the earned action rate, cost per view, cost per click, and then cost per earned action. And then these are various formulas that are either a quality. Quality would be things like view rate, click-through rate. And then the efficiencies are things like cost per view, cost per click, cost per. And then you would put them all together into an overall average result for each ad group. And you would optimize the ad groups based on these. It doesn't always have to be this complex, but it's a way of basically, how do I say, putting a process to this. You know, with so many different metrics, you have to have some sort of a formula, right? And this is one way of doing it. Another thing you have to think about is the share. So, example, in this campaign, retargeting, over this time period, we're driving the majority of impressions based on retargeting. So, in this case, we were fine because retargeting was driving the majority of impressions, and it also had the highest overall score. Entities and contextual topics were doing far less well than retargeting, and since they were a relatively small share of the overall delivery, we need to optimize them. So this one obviously is easy to optimize up, easy to optimize down. Where you have to be careful is where you get in a situation where you're finding that the majority of delivery is in an ad group that's not doing well, because then you'll have issues in fulfilling the campaign unless you increase the bids on the ad groups that aren't doing as well. So the point I'm trying to make in all this, there's a lot of moving parts. It's not as simple as, oh, well, this ad group, this placement ad group, it's by far got the best, so let's just shut everything off. No, you can't do that. You have to think about the share, the impression share that each ad group is the campaign. And so putting it together like this helps me tremendously in making the decisions as to where I want to adjust the bids, right? So ideally, what I'll have is a where I can set up a template one time, and it will just drop in for me tricks that I need to optimize, and then it will have the calculations there. As soon as the numbers are dropped in, the calculations would be done, and then it would spit out a score like for each, spit out the share, and then I would be able to go in, see that very quickly. These two ad groups were underperforming, and then I would be able to very easily go in and make bid adjustments. So let's say, well, I'm going to take these two down from 3 cents to 2 cents. So they're going to take a far less, delivery will be far less. That ideally is what I want, because right now I'm just downloading all this data and up in Excel spreadsheets, and it's just very, very time consuming.
You're spending like 90% of your time doing a bunch of manual, repetitive labor, and very little of the time actually doing the important stuff, which is the interpretation.
Exactly.
Interpreting and reacting.
Yes.
And it really should be the opposite. It should be just
the
clicking
opposite.
a few buttons and
So 2 questions. One, does this have to be in Excel?
So.
And the second thing is, and this is, I think, where we want to move towards, and we certainly won't capture it all, but it starts, when you said underperforming, and I looked at those two, I was like, well, look, when you say underperforming, you were talking about efficiency rather than quality or share, or were you doing it on overall?
Overall. Well, they're both, these two affinities and this contextual topic, it's quality and efficient.
Right.
Why are these two green, by the way? They look like they should be a different color.
The formula's got screwed up.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's my fault.
No,
I should have messed with the spreadsheet when you weren't looking.
No, I just need to clear those. Yeah, it's just got messed up.
Helps you, this color code helps you say, okay, I really need to look at, so in this case, really NOM contextual. I'm sorry, I don't mean to crowd you, it's just small space.
I just want to be a gentleman.
Non-contextual, just an overall is low in channels, right? What happens next? Like, do you say, okay, great, I'll go into that AdWords ad group, right? And then what do you do?
Okay, so the
or
first thing,
ahead before, I'm sorry.
yeah. So
David,
what I
do you
do,
have any more questions?
You adjust the bids, right? Sorry.
Yeah.
David, do you have any questions on this? I mean, it just sounds like if there's a proper interface, we would.
Yeah, it just seems
We
like
could take care of it.
just automating the report really and the math behind it.
It reminds me.
yeah, so it's a bit of an art. So the next thing I do is I would go to these two ad groups, and I would reduce the bid down because it's an ad group or a placement. Think about what it is. It at 4 cents, it may not be something you want to include in the campaign. It may be, because now all of a sudden it's the cost per click has gone down dramatically. So you'll be getting less in these ad groups, but you don't want to turn them off entirely, because and still get some impressions. You'll be much more efficient on your CPV, your C, ultimately, if the client is tracking CPA, you'll have a lower CPA. So it's sort of like how you think about, I always make so many examples of the stock market because I know it so well. There's no like inherently good stock or bad stock. Every stock can be good, every stock can be bad. Like it depends on the price you pay for it. And I think of placements the same way. Unless you're talking about a placement that's like a placement that's super objectionable and you don't want to be on, period, there's no placement that if the price was right, if you're paying like, you wouldn't want to be on it. And there's no placement that's so good and so well targeted that if you're paying too high a price, you'd want to advertise on. God, I hope you heard all that.
Maybe there?
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to process it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. What do you do with start it, right? Do you come in and have to build the spreadsheet every week with the new set of data?
No, once I built it once, I just
Use up the data set.
Right, but you never look. But I'm saying, do you ever look at the original, like the first week's flight versus the second week's flight, and see that there's been a change in efficiency?
Yes.
So, but you can't see that on this. You open up another Excel. You open up the last temp.
So basically, I just go to the AdWords account and I look at a report of results. Yeah. So I would go to AdWords and I would say, okay, so let's say I optimized this campaign. Let's say I optimized it on Monday. So I would look at the results last week, and this isn't a great example because they're last week. Let's say I did my optimizations on Monday. I would say, oh, okay, so it had a whatever view rate, whatever click-through rate, and let me quickly look this week, see how well I'm doing, and the optimizations that I made are actually moving things in the right direction. If they are, I would tend to let it go a little bit longer without re-optimizing. If I see that they're not working, then I would more quickly re-optimize that campaign. And that, I think, is part of the logic that can be built into the ultimate, like the machine learning part of this. This is way, way down the road, but would be dependent on how well the first round of optimizations did.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're trying to make sure we're accurately capturing. So for you, there's not like as long as it was better than the you optimized it, it's okay.
It's okay. Right? Well, it'll still get optimized again, but it won't get. It doesn't need to be optimized as quickly because it's moving in the right direction. And you don't want to over optimize, because if you over optimize, you will have removed too much delivery potential, and then you'll start getting worse results because things will just be just be costing you more.
So as long as the overall score, which is efficiency and shared efficiency, was the other one we had there?
Equality and then the overall score.
Right. Okay. And so right now, even if, for example, we'll look at verticals, which only had options, like what heuristics do you use here? Do you actually care that in market only had 7,500 impressions? You just make sure you just look at the percentage.
I want to make sure that each ad group has enough impressions to basically provide us with enough observations to make a decision in the first place. So if I see an ad group isn't delivering at all, I try to bump up the bid just so I can tricks to calculate for that ad group. So in many cases, if it's an ad group that's just not broad enough, I may have to bump the bid up even 2 pennies above where the other ones are just to start collecting data on those ad groups. And once I have enough data, then if I see that if it will only deliver if we, you know, bump it up a penny or two above the others, and the performance isn't better by an equal amount, so that it's efficient with at a higher bid, I'll just have to turn it where all the other ad groups are, because I can see that ad group is just not going to outperform. But I do try to get enough observations on each ad group to make a decision as quickly as possible.
So you're talking about optimizing by price, right? Efficiency.
Well,
you're
both.
Changing the bid, right? And actually change the ad groups.
Well, first, changing the bid, just by changing the bid, the way the Google algorithm works, you're actually the quality. Because what Google does, it's got its own optimization algorithm that it's running as well. And there are two elements to it. There is the quality of placement, or whatever it happens to be, like advertisement, and then there's also the price you're going to pay. Those two things into account, just like it does in search, and it comes up with a score for you when a user clicks on a video and is deciding which ad to serve. You know, tens of thousands of choices to make, and each of those has a score. So everything else being equal, a bid down, and you still win that impression, is the Google algorithm is saying that, hey, that is actually that we think is going to turn into you, and we're going to make money on it. By adjusting bids, you not only impact, like the cost per view and the cost per click. The algorithm works is you have a better chance when you bid lower, everything else being equal, of view and ultimately a click and all that. It's kind of, it takes a while to get your head around that, but then you'll find that you never want to just shut things, almost, again, unless it's just objectionable, you almost never want to shut things off entirely, but you rather just want to adjust bids and try to find that sweet spot for each where you sort of can, you know, still get delivery out of an ad group, but get quality delivery, and have it contribute to the campaign. So Chris is here. You now through the process of setting up the blacklist in AdWords. But unfortunately, my computer looks like it's freezing at the moment. Hey, can you send, Chris, can you grab your computer?
Yeah.
And can you, Becky, can you send him a link to the Hangout so he can do it on his machine? I have to restart mine, it looks like.
What is Chris's email?
Chris.McMahon.
McMahon. But it's like, yeah, MCMA.
Twitch? No, I think it's Irish because that's a math.
Oh, right.
All I know is because my wife is half Scottish.
Half Scottish.
And we
What's her
named
name?
her.
What's her name? Mac?
No, she's a Wainwright. She's an English last name. She's
Oh.
Scottish.
He's English. That is going to American school.
Is
He
he-
didn't move
he's
to
a
America until he was in college.
UK citizen?
He's citizen, right, Chris?
Irish.
Oh, Irish.
Yes.
But don't you have citizenship in UK also? Or?
No, well, since I'm well, as long as the UK is in the EU, I am technically
No.
a citizen there.
Ireland is entirely separate.
Yeah.
Because
So
Northern Ireland would have a.
yeah, but I never needed.
Well, that's
it
what
would
I'm
have been. It would
saying.
have
I thought
been.
that you also had a UK.
It would have been redundant because I never thought the EU would dissolve.
Yeah.
But you know, hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah.
The dog is Scottish, isn't
No, he's not a Scottish Terrier.
it? No.
Schnauzer. Schnauzer is also Scottish.
I don't know.
No. He's a Yorkshire Terrier.
Well, Yorkshire is in England.
Well, there's British, technically British, Scottish is British. So.
Okay. That's true.
He's English. But
English.
Yorkshire is English.
He's a whinging palm.
Probably are
Germany?
also- Schnauzer, that sounds right. That makes sense. The real ordering. Guard dogs. Smallest breed of guard dog.
Is it Schnauzer?
Guard dog. Dog trainer told us that, I probably told you this, but when he goes out on a walk and he gets really excited and found out that the Schnauzer and the guard dogs that when you take them out in the house, they think, so they get really excited.
Huh.
So it's like,
Yeah.
Chris, did you get the invite I sent? It's called it's a hangout invite.
Not yet.
Maybe we didn't spell. I think we spelled your email correct, Chris.McMahon.
But this is not.
It should make sure to go to your spam folder and do that.
You gotta get you back there.
he doesn't want it.
He's even there for Excel and stuff.
He had a choice. He wanted to think that.
Yeah, for Excel, because I'm more familiar with the PC version of Excel.
I don't know, shortcuts.
I'm sorry, Fisher. Startled it.
We still haven't got it yet.
Like the Wi-Fi is pretty slow for me
Are
right
you
now.
on the 5G?
Also, I have to plug on my phone.
What, spell the last name? McMahon.
MAHON. Yeah, that's why. I'll send a new invite just in case.
All right.
When Brent had the Excel worksheet open, we had the green and the yellow and the red. Not that stuff, a new invention. It's been around a long time, but that face that I helped to build back in 1982. We used the same thing. Green if everything is okay, yellow we need to send a signal back to the satellite. Red, there's some kind of a problem. Anyway, just reminded me of that.
Yeah, I like it. I don't like that it's in the reports though because it like slows that. It makes it really
It
sad.
does,
It's just the
It's
lowest.
just like
It does, but
the-
but internally, it's an
Yeah.
easy way to just
Yeah,
have
because
having a
it-
pile of black numbers. Yeah.
Or just remove the red and just put like the green and the lighter green.
You have entirely different colors,
Yeah.
entirely different color scheme, because the red does look bad. Emergency
Yeah.
problem. We have not been successful on it. Signals all these things.
Yeah, and probably something that you're showing all of Gmail.
Yeah, it looked like she spelled it in right both times.
You're sending it to me and I can Slack it to you.
Okay, I invited you to your link.
It's so weird. Okay, I'm just gonna forward it. Okay, I just forwarded it. So try.
You doing okay there, David?
Yep, just staring out the window.
Got it.
Got it.
Oh, whatever.
Anything? Yeah, we got it.
Yeah, it works now.
Okay, great.
I never got the
Dave,
email,
you
but-
ready?
Yep.
You never got the email?
I never, well, I invited Loren and she forwarded it.
I don't know, for some reason he wasn't getting the email, but I just, yeah.
So whose computer do I have up then?
Yes.
So Dave, you ready?
Maybe
You ready, Dave?
Yes.
Sounds like he is.
Yes.
Great.
So you just want me to go through linking Periscope into AdWords?
Yep.
All right. So is a basically a step-by-step write-up that I put together that I can send out to everyone just so they have it in one place and internally saved on our Google Drive. Step instructions to of how to connect Periscope list dashboard, a Google document that will then sync with our Google AdWords account. So it includes the step-by-step as well as the actual script that we will be using, to tell it where to pull and how to apply the blacklist into all of our accounts. So It can be a bit finicky in some places, but it's fairly simple to get it all the way across. We are using a template that Google actually made, where it essentially gives us a section to mass import either keywords, which we don't use, or which is really what we're looking for. So, step that we need to do is, for some reason, I found that copying a copied version of this spreadsheet will allow you to set a recurring script to update from Periscope every day or every hour, or what have you. So, I haven't worked out that bug yet, but to copy this document, turn it into, or whatever we want to call it. Basically, anything that's not in this yellow column, it doesn't matter, we can, but you can put in whatever you want to title it, specific AdWords IDs if so desired, if it's for a specific account or for a specific campaign. But the key part is deleting this late campaign label, because a lot of these scripts, I've been able to make them work for video campaigns, but they're not designed for video campaigns. They're mostly designed for display and search AdWords campaigns. So this campaign labels section just, for some reason or another, does not work when we're dealing with YouTube. We want to retitle our the placement lists here, because this is how they will be saved into AdWords once we actually run everything. I'll just call them test negative place lists, placements, and test negative keywords. And then what you can have it do is basically send someone, either you or a general account, an email whenever the script successfully runs, whenever things are successfully updated. I'll just put in my email. On all the backlists that we have running currently, I get an email at 10 a.m. each morning telling me that whether everything's run smoothly or not, and it's useful. Once again, just because of the way that, and I've set this up that we don't need to worry about these customer IDs, but this is a way of limiting the blacklist to specific accounts. Once again, there's a number of different ways we can use this to certain accounts, certain campaigns. So that covers the first few steps. One thing that to keep in mind is that when we import the data from Periscope up over right here, we're only going to be importing the video IDs. A small kink in how into AdWords, basically including the HTTPS versus not including the HTTPS. So the simplest way to get around that kink, we don't need to go into super details, is just importing this turn into URLs that that AdWords can read. That's just a simple concatenating equation that we can plug into the Google spreadsheet. So I'll put that here.
So like all these things
that we would be using.
They're somewhere. I know they are.
Is opening up an API connection between Periscope to allow it to share the contents of a given dashboard with, and then we're going to be importing that data to a spreadsheet. So typically our dashboards, the way when Brent makes them, they are full on. They have all the data that we have: the service, the ID, the title, the likes, the dislikes, duration. We don't need all of that for the blacklist purposes, and if we drop them into the Google Doc with all this in there, it'll just take way too long to update. It's way too much information, and then it's difficult to pull in exactly what we need and keep things consistent. For a list of dashboards that only include the video ID. Within each of these, you need to enable the API connection within the advanced chart settings. So we'll go to chart format, down to advanced, and I've already enabled this one. We already have this blacklist up and running. What I can do is expose the CSV URL, and I'll be using this URL to import the contents of that dashboard into the blacklist. Done just with a simple import data in here. So I'll just copy it from the doc for just illustration purposes. And then what I'm going to want to do is paste that up here. And I will use the Periscope URL to drop into there. And theoretically, this will load for a moment, and it should be able to place the list with all of the video IDs blacklist. And now that we have this URLs, we can just drop it down. We have the correctly formatted URLs needed to input into AdWords. Then this we can basically, if we were to ever open this up again, we could essentially just double click this link to reload it and make sure it continually updates. But another way we can that is just running individual scripts within each of these documents. So unfortunately, this is where it gets kind of screwy as far as copying and pasting documents. But with this, I can set up a script document on a regular recurring interval of however often we want, whether we want it to pull every minute, every hour, every day. Oh. Replace this cell in C3 with the same exact equation, but just refresh it. So I'll take the same URL that we took from Periscope, and here where we have this URL here. I need to go into full, but we'll set that, we'll plug that in there and then set it up to be and we can set up a regular recurring trigger pull every day between 9 and 10 a.m. So what that'll do is that'll just make sure that this Google document is always updated every morning with whatever is in the contents of the Periscope dashboard, which should be updating itself regularly when we run new campaigns and new videos are installed. Sets up the full black list, the list itself. So then making the into our AdWords account. We do that just within bulk edits, which is being sluggish. And I'll just show a pre-made okay, so I guess this is a good example. So right here, the way that we're going to segment these blacklists is basically creating account labels. So you'll see on here we have our general blacklist, our kids blacklist. I also have a music blacklist set up, but we're not currently applying that to any campaign. So whereas documents have given us the option of including campaign labels or customer IDs, we're going around that is building an additional level into the script itself that you'll see, basically telling it to look for full-on account IDs. Apply the blacklist to the campaigns within the account. So within bulk operations and scripts, we just set up just a standard Google script. I'll open up our general blacklist. And all of this code in the step-by-step instructions that knows about where you need to make these little tweaks. But essentially here, the only areas you need to update are this spreadsheet URL, basically telling the AdWords account to look for this new blacklist. And then also change the name down here of the account label name. So we can make the label whatever we want, but this is the label that the script is going to look for and then apply a given account. So everything else is pretty much set to run. I haven't made any major tweaks to what Google's produced, but email is sent, you could change exactly what it pulls and how it drops things in. But everything after that is, we can preview it. It'll tell us, this I guess would be changes since this morning, as I have all these scripts, these AdWords scripts set to run an hour after the blacklist spreadsheet script is set to run.
Got it.
I'm not sure if the Periscope is updated at all.
I just updated it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we might actually see some changes here. Take a little bit longer because the Wi-Fi is a bit.
How long does this normally take?
Normally it takes under a minute, and once it's all set up, so there's once it's set up, I don't need to actively come to this page ever because it'll be set to recur and update on its own.
So it looks like it was a template that AdWords provided, right?
Yes.
The question is, does it have to go through that process of using that? Are there other sort of input outputs, David, on this?
No, I mean, this is just the AdWords script stuff, right? So it could technically pull from anywhere. It's just a matter of getting the data formatted right and frequent and updated enough, right? But yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, because I was gonna say, like, just from a process point of view, just to make sure I tracked it properly. Effectively, what's going on is you're writing a Google Doc and you're sort of getting it to auto update from Periscope that has a blacklist, and that Google Doc's setting together in a format that a certain like spreadsheet template that Google provide matches, and then there's a script that you're using which effectively is hitting that spreadsheet, ripping through all of the placements, looking for all of the tags in the AdWords accounts and matching those together and creating blacklists.
Yeah. So the only thing that it's not able to do, and this is an issue that I've reached out to Google about, automatically. So while it'll apply the blacklist to the actual account, we'll see that the general blacklist will be applied to NOMs or to Palm Springs or Harley Davidson. That it won't apply itself to any of the video campaigns within the account automatically. So whenever we set a new campaign up to the account, and then the blacklist as an excluded placement list will always be in there and always apply to the campaigns that are set up. It won't actually automatically rope in the new campaigns that we've made or anything like that. So what we'll need to do is click on the given blacklist, apply to campaigns, and then make sure that every campaign is actually, so
Got it.
once we add them into the list, it will update them. But any new campaigns, we need to do this manually because experience with these scripts, but it's not. I guess it's only looking for play campaigns to automatically pull in.
Got it.
But once like I said, once we plug it in, then it's good in perpetuity. Change pieces of the campaign, add new ad groups or anything like that.
Okay.
But yeah, then once it's set up, we have a few different we have triggers on both pieces to refresh however if we wanted to. Right now, it's not set daily because Periscope isn't typically updated. But in this given format, it's once it's all set up and once I'm assuming there aren't many campaign additions, then it's good to go.
Cool. Awesome stuff.
And pretty much all that is, I mean, like you got the gist of it, but it's all the step-by-step stuff.
Yep.
I wrote in here just in case I'm gonna share this if that's of interest. Share where I got the script from.
Yeah, if you don't mind, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Cool.
You have questions, Dave?
No, I mean, no, it's all pretty straightforward.
Okay, cool. Well, Becky stepped out, so maybe we should wait before we go any further.
Cool. Actually, we'll use this opportunity to use the restroom.
Okay, great.
Oh, not that you all need to know that, but I will be right back.
Thanks.
Espresso? Your own little tea things, Michael?
What? They were in the drawer.
Oh, we have it?
Yeah.
But they must belong to the girls downstairs.
I like the story better that you bring your own pots
Shit. Yeah, right.
tea bottle,
I brought them down from San Francisco.
No,
especially infused with
The girls downstairs drink a lot of tea, so we'll just make sure we.
Yeah, I put it in the
I don't care. They use all of our stuff.
Have they?
It's all's fair. I haven't seen you said that.
Yeah, I mean it's fairly like it's fairly simple.
Yeah.
I'm experienced enough to necessarily this script, but I can go through it and
Yeah.
I've gotten pretty good at seeing what it's doing where.
Right. You know what? You understand
And
enough about the script.
and there was a couple, and because it's not for video campaigns, that's where we ran into issues, which is why this list is set up the way it is with video IDs, as opposed to pulling the URLs directly from Periscope.
Right.
I had to figure out that issue and figure out the campaign issue. So that's where it took the most time. Honestly, the pure setup is it's improved.
Yeah.
Besides like the weird thing about copying these, that's those are two things I haven't figured out, but they're so small that they're a huge issue right now. It's more just like remembering that, on big campaigns like Palm Springs, where we have new creative almost every other day, that just
Like add it to the
just
new
quickly
videos.
click and apply, running the same two videos, and all at the same time. Especially it's
I am back.
worse.
Hey, you guys there?
Yeah, we're here.
Cool.
Pulling the database is slow. It's just because Brent doesn't know enough about Postgres to basically put in the
we figured there was something like that. Everything at once. Yeah.
I guess it's because it's summertime, so he's like losing hair. Why are you petting? Something wrong with you? Oh, you hear me, Dave?
Oh, no, I was laughing because Chris was updating the thing, and when he was doing it, I was like, I think he meant import data URL.
Oh.
I pasted it in, I was like, that doesn't look right.
I was like, I think he's just forcing it to refresh by re-triggering the auto population.
Are you still alive, Dave? Or are you about to pass out?
I'm hanging in there, but definitely a lot of information taken. Huh?
Let me go see what Becky's status is.
Did-
I know she was just taking a phone call.
No worries.
It's still blowing.
So hey,
Michael was hot.
are you there, Brent?
Guys,
Michael actually said something.
sorry, I just took up there.
Let's see if Dave, you still there?
Yeah.
David?
Hi, I am here.
So you guys went through
Drinking tea.
the document.
Hey, I was just thinking, Michael actually said something while I was running through the optimizations that thinking about how the MVP should look. Obvious, but I really feel like if I had a way to get all this data very quickly and I didn't have to spend so much time getting the data, I could spend more time on interpretation immediately, be so much more efficient that for purposes of the MVP, I would like, the data to be the focus, like extracting it to set up like the fields I need, like the template, how the template should look. And it's going to vary campaign to campaign. It's going to vary whether we do cross-platform or one platform only. It's going to vary based on where the clicks are going, either off YouTube or on YouTube. But there'll be maybe a few different templates that I'd like to get set up, and I'd like to have a way to populate easily. If that could be part of the MVP, and I could then spend more of my time on interpretation, optimization, the formulas, the machine learning, all of that stuff, the bulk of that could really come later.
Yeah, totally. I think, in just in observing all of this, I think one of the things it seems like it's reasonably quick hit, but would have massive impact is that plumbing stuff that you were talking about, right? Like getting all the data to ship around the way it needs to ship around, and like automate the things that can be automated. So that way, all you're doing is hitting a button and then being able to spend time doing insights and things like that. I think is a thing that could save just astronomical amounts of time, and is
Yeah.
reasonably like directly in front of us and how to accomplish that.
Well, it doesn't do to you once you have it in hand. Also, it's that all the time you spend doing this repetitive work, it's not exactly stimulating or fun or challenging or anything.
Right.
A lot of mental energy because you have to make sure that you don't make mistakes. So by the time it's time to do the real work, which is to interpret the results, you're already kind of weary.
Right.
And I mean, I've had this problem many times when I was in Booz Allen. I was being whipped and beaten all the time to do all this analysis. Well, in my case, 12 or 14 hours of it. I was so tired, it was very hard to do the interpretation well.
Yeah.
That's not the case here, but you will see a big difference because you'll be fresh when you're doing the interpretation.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
I am too. I think it's going to transform your transform your time every week.
For sure.
I think we should delve into some of the stuff that you have and that we can automate. I'm wondering if it makes sense to do what you do well and automate it before doing this, because there's also stuff that's cooking in your brain, right? Like PR from video, Google Analytics, right? And we understand like you want to be able to maybe add and drop in the view or columns in the views that you're looking at. But would we really know how to define that until you've done enough tests with DNA in some sort of, setting, or like, do we want to make us like? I'm just wondering if that's like a phase 2 for that.
Well,
for this.
For now, we can. The GA part can be. Already have enough that we can. I already have enough, right? I have enough in the sense that it's very easy to take 2 simple metrics out of GA. So if we're talking about like site engagement, we can take 2 simple metrics from GA. We can take like bounce rate and we can take pages per session. Metrics and the number of sessions we create. We can create all sorts of, cost per page or even greater. I mean, even better if the client can set up, conversion of some sort that it wants to achieve. You can do like CPA, right? But we can take a couple of easy ones and already set them up in the optimization routines where it's easy to rank each and score each channel on this new element of site engagement. And I don't think that's going to take long at all. And in terms of getting the Google Analytics is looped into the audience and informing cross-platform audience, I don't think that is, that I feel like I already have enough to utilize that in optimizing campaigns already. So I think we're there. What's that?
You have a template, you have a process in your template.
There's already, there's already a process. It's a simple process, but it's already there, right? And we can refine the process over time, but
do you store it anywhere in your EMP
no,
now,
it's just in my head. It's like, well, I'm going to look at the affinities and I'm going to see what are really what are the outliers. So maybe it might be just eyeballing it and maybe calculating the deviation and taking anything 2 standard deviations or greater away, right? So like blacklisting anything that's greater than 1.5, 2 standard deviations on bounce rate or on maybe taking the top, maybe just taking the bottom 5. If it looks like the bottom 5 are all tightly packed and share, audience attributes. It's a bit of an art, but I want to have it in what we do in campaigns, running campaigns as soon as possible because the early results look very, very good.
So I guess the line I'm drawing is, can these be metrics that you see on your optimization dashboard?
Yeah.
That you then decide to execute optimization on?
Yeah.
And so then because it might be 2 standard deviations, but sometimes it might be 1.
Right.
For whatever reason, right? Just formulations in your own mind to figure out what are best practices that should be automatically codified is what I'm trying to say. right?
Yes.
So problem by simply saying, okay, great, make sure that if we have GA authentication, we pull in bounce rate, we pull, as a running total, and we pull in categories, and make sure that you see percentage overlap or affinity or, click through for those particular groups. We're the one optimizing it in the execution. For phase, calling phase 2, we may not put it in phase 2, it might be a different phase, but just like we know that the DMP, I think the DMP, it sounds like, Dave, we're adding like a section for like for the DMP, collating it all into one place and an interface that to optimize.
Yeah, I mean, I think optimize what? Like, just you need to optimize off of, like, optimize placements off of?
Yeah, so you can eyeball and be like, it's all in one place. That's off of it. Yeah, right. We got to just write it all down and document it. Now they're giving you access to GA?
Yes. Well, one so far, but all of our about to launch with new clients, we're asking for GA access. That is a practice now going forward.
I also do think there, Dave, in the DMP portion, we are going to have to figure out a way to allow customers to do sign up and authorization.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to probably be that as a first UI step for, even as we're building the DMP. Not phasing later, but
yeah, because I think yeah, we definitely can, because I think there's part of this which is I think there's a lot of plumbing work to be done in regards to just getting things in a place where we can then start layering in these kinds of things and getting sort of the right foundations in place. And whether or not that we bundle that together as one phase, doing that plus the other stuff, or it's separate or whatever, is whatever. But yeah, I think we just need to look at what that is and how we get there.
Okay. All right. So you got us through bidding to optimize, and I took in my notes that said bidding sits on top of, the YouTube layer of optimization. So bidding is not just about efficiency, but about other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The other way you might optimize the ad groups themselves.
Yes, we could.
Or do you not do that? Is it usually bidding? Kind of what?
It's bidding. Okay, so it's bidding at the ad group level. Very rarely would we turn off an ad group entirely. Now, within the ad groups, though, very often turn off things that comprise those. In the case, so let's just go through one by one. In the case of affinities for in market.
Sorry, I just.
Okay,
that way. You want to add yourself back in? You want me to send you an invite again? Right.
It should be the same invite. Yeah.
Okay. So generally the way I deal with optimization across the ad groups, each ad group though, it's much more common that I will turn off underperforming elements of that ad group. So this is the topic ad group that I just so in this case, there are two active topics: cartoons and dolls and accessories. They are both performing well. I don't believe at this point, although I haven't put the numbers through this little tool that tells me basically a chi-square test. Michael actually was the one who created the spreadsheet through, but the CTRs and the view rates look close enough in totals that it probably wouldn't make sense at this point in the campaign to shut either one of these off. But I will very often shut off underperforming topic categories. And so the process of doing that would just be to come over here and basically pause it. So we've got, that's topics. Affinities work much the same way. We would look within the campaign group and basically say, well, which one of these affinities one should be shut off. I'd actually shut off this ad group entirely for another reason, but if I had left it on, it's very likely family television fans would be shut off because the CTR is so much lower than the other two lower. It would just be a matter of putting in the impressions and the views and the impressions and the clicks into this little Excel tool and deciding whether this difference, the other two, and this affinity is statistically significant or not. Do we shut it off or not?
Can we see your Excel on to make sure it's just a standard chi-square?
So eventually it's going to be so eventually this process, this is also time consuming because I have to put in the group that I'm interested in here. I have to type in the pins, views, clicks, whatever it is. It could be earned actions, whatever it is I'm trying to compare to the benchmark for the campaign and those numbers, and then it's going to give me a significance level. And if that's under 5%, it's significant, and I know I can, in fact, I have enough observations to safely shut it off. It takes time. And I don't know if this is going to be incorporated into the MVP or not, but this is really important to do because you don't want to jump the gun on optimizations of observations and you like shot yourself in the foot. And on the other hand, you don't want to go too long without optimizing, which is why having like an observation trigger rather than a time trigger, which we spoke about a little bit yesterday, is also going to be very, very okay. So this is the spreadsheet I use.
Hard key, we should get hard keys input on that. Defining what the optimization, what the observation triggers will be, because what you don't want to do is kind of do continuous testing and then say, oh, we have a significant result now that we have 9,427 observations. Because now the p-value is 0.49, therefore it's significant because you'll get all kinds of false positives.
If you just wait till it just
if you wait until it just goes below, you'll get all kinds of false positives. That's it. Actually beyond the scope of the conversation here, but because it's not a simple thing to figure out, we should ask him. That's why we're paying him. It's for input like this.
We do have a
Sounds like the MVP. I mean,
statistical significance.
or is that? I mean,
I don't think it would be that. It's not. I think it'll probably be the second phase because it's going to be more work than you might imagine to implement it. Here isn't the hard part, but you have to figure out what the right statistical tools are in the right situation, and we need to involve a science expert in that, which we haven't really done yet. So it would be ideal to have it in the first one, but it might also take 3 or 4 weeks. So it might be better to put it in the second iteration. That's my instinct anyway. I don't mean to.
I think this is discovery.
Yeah.
We're
I
discovering
think it would
what we
be
need
great,
to do.
but if we have 47 different features built into the first pass, it's going to take several months to do it. So
Yeah, I think the only reason why I bring it up is if the goal of the first phase is really to put the plumbing in for data, not make any optimizations, but identify repeatable trigger points of human intervention. Maybe one way to think about it.
That's different, right? Okay, so that could be easily done.
I don't think I think we all agree optimization or action upon anything is way after a planning tool that has a SMB friendly interface built. Brent is going to be doing optimizations for a while.
Yes.
Right? But hopefully we have made the process, I mean, just data completeness alone on the DMP was sort of mind-boggling to see how you literally went through equals back and forth.
There were 3 or 4, I think. I mean, it was.
Okay, that's one piece of it, and then the effort to like proper BI setup for you to see the data points that you need for each step along the way. Mm-hmm. And that's the only reason why I was like, well, maybe we should put in the chi-square test of statistical significance to know when, and then if that's meaningful or not.
So I think I'll re-amend what I said before. So let me amend what I said before. I think putting in a breakpoint is very simple, and we can do that. But doing the full-blown statistical analysis and automating that is going to be much more work and effort, and I think you already had sensed that. So that's probably not going to be very good. But being able to put in a breakpoint and say, okay, it's time for a manual intervention now because we have 7,000 observations or whatever it is very doable and should be done.
Yeah, and there's a trade-off between how often you don't want to optimize too often either, because if you do that, then you have to wait longer until your next observation. Until your next. So if you wait a little bit longer to make your first round of optimizations, you might be able to get more optimized because you're constantly adding. So if you're, let's say, 3 days into the campaign,
again, Dave is the guy to ask. He does this at Pandora all the time.
You won't have enough observations on every single ad group, every single, like, let's say, subcategory within each ad group. You can optimize half of them, but you're gonna have to wait for data on the rest. So then when you go optimize the second time, you can't optimize what hasn't yet been optimized against what has been optimized about. Well, you have to do it so you can't, like, so let's say you collected 5,000 observations.
Conceptually, I'm following you completely.
You can't 1,000 more now you got 6,000. No, you got 1,000 because you can't. Those 5,000 were being compared to a completely different
number of observations you need is, and this is implicit in what you're saying, is the number of observations you need depends on whether you think that how big the difference between A and B are going to be.
True. Yeah.
And so if you do an optimization relatively early on, closer to the asymptote, so to speak, or the ideal solution, more observations, because you're probably not going to have a huge difference between and where you're able to go with it. So you'll need more observations to get a statistically significant test. The click-through rate is 0.5 to 0.55%. You need a lot of observations to determine whether it's statistically significant or it isn't.
Yeah.
No, not at all. I think it's, it's cool. I think we just need to want to figure out what's gonna. That's helpful. We just want to know what you do. So you you run it through Michael's Excel sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you listen. You don't.
Still using it.
Sometimes in terms of actually initiating action off of it.
Unless it's obvious, if it's not obvious, I use it. Let's put it that way, right? Sometimes
it's the view rate's so low, the CTR is so low, and every other, you know, targeting segment is dominating that one that you really don't even have to run it through. You know, oh, you got 10,000 impressions, it's enough, you know? Sometimes it's enough to sort of like just estimate it in your head, but for the most part, I try to use it before I really shut anything off entirely.
Okay. So that's a check for shutting things off.
Yeah.
Do you go through a particular process here around changing anything? So do you ever so this one you shut off completely, right? So let's pick another one that hasn't been shut off yet, like maybe topics or keywords, or do you ever, oh, well, there's nothing there. Okay. So do you, it looks like you even though the ad group is, oh, it's a different word, I see. So for that keyword, toy unboxing, presumably because of
a low CTR.
A low CTR. And then you decided to, and where do you get those lists?
So you would add, the way you would add as the campaign is ongoing is you would look at remarketing and where your ad viewers are being remarketed to. And that's the idea. So when we first started running toy campaigns, you know, and we didn't have as much information. So, or any new vertical. So I would spend a lot of time digging into remarketing placements and saying, hey, where is the audience that's watching our advertisements? Where are they on YouTube? Because I want to get them there too. So I would go in and do a lot of that as the campaign goes on, how you can further increase the segments. However, a lot of times clients will have to sign off on the targeting, so I won't have as much, you know, leeway to do that. But I want to make sure that we talked about it a lot already this morning. This remarketing angle, that we still are cognizant of that and still have a way to use that targeting and optimizations.
So how are you getting so in this case, what was the problem? Did you log into AdWords? Where did you see these new keywords?
These aren't new.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't added anything at all here. These are just ones that I've shut off because I felt like they were underperforming. Okay.
That's definitely one way to optimize, right? So you're saying you usually, I don't know, you might add 10 or 100, and then you start removing things and changing bids to optimize it.
Yeah.
Occasionally, or if you had more access to remarketing, right, the AdWords, you would add those, but you would need to check with the client to make sure it was okay.
In many cases, yes. So this is how I would like the flow of this to work. So the campaign is launched. We wait, 3 or 4 days, and then we download all of the placements and metadata for everything that all of our remarketing ads, and then we try to figure out from that. We try to figure out all what patterns do we see, and it's some sort of a word cloud, but we don't want to stare at a word cloud. It's something like a word cloud that's going to tell us, hey, what is the popular metadata? What are, patterns are we seeing? And then taking that and getting ideas on how to expand the targeting of the campaign from that.
Got it. Does that make sense for you in terms of how we would access the AdWords?
Yeah, conceptually, I'd have to dig into the specifics of it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's look at this. So if we go to placements, the placements tab for both the managed placements are placements that we've set up and specifically told AdWords to serve ads on. So we're telling it we want ads served on Ryan's Toy Review. Where ads were shown includes all the placements that were managed, but also those that were part of the other ad groups, which are unmanaged. The verticals, these of course are managed channels and market, and so on and so forth. So do is I would download this, download all of this, and essentially just look for, this is vertical, I would look for the remarketing ad group. And I would have a long list of URLs where we were serving. What I would do is I would run that through the tool, get all the metadata, and then sum it, do some sort of a weighting by impressions, right? So obviously, even if metadata appears in 5 videos, but those videos have only served, let's say 10, metadata that appears in 1 video that might have served 10,000 impressions is still, to me, more powerful. So you have to weight it somehow by the impressions that you're serving against the metadata. And then once you have that, once you download this, again, conceptually, it's like a word cloud where you're just, where is your audience? Happens, again, just to take another further step back, because we talked about this morning. The remarketing ad group is comprised of viewers who have seen the ad on YouTube and then who go to and are served the same ad. Get is a list where they are ad for the second or third or the fourth time. And that gives us an idea of our video viewers, like where do they go, interested in, and from that we try to pull together patterns to give us new ideas, new keywords to target, new topics, potentially even new affinities, right, and expand the targeting list.
And right now, sorry.
Go ahead, Dave.
No, so right now when you do this, like you're just basically manual. Are you just manually doing it? Like how are you defining what a other keyword is?
Okay, so right now the manual process would be to go in here, Excel, and remove basically, or create a pivot table in Excel that would just pull the URLs for the ad group remarketing, then upload that into the scraper, get all the metadata, and then put it through like a word cloud type program that would count. It would count the number of instances of metadata. Look at like the top 20 and try to pull out, like brands that our ad viewers are interested in, or other concepts or themes, whatever. And then take like the top, whatever, 20, 30, whatever seems relevant, those keywords of the campaign, or potentially search our data warehouse for the metadata to pull out individual placements to add to the campaign, and then see how they do. And just keep going through this process until we run out of new potential.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you ever use TubeBuddy?
Don't use TubeBuddy at all. No.
Take a look at TubeBuddy. I'm just, right, so they're actually manually collecting the next set of keywords. We don't even know what to scrape for, as many as you can, 100, 1,000 videos with those keywords. In other words, what's the sample set that you're using, the quantity of the sample set?
I could set it up a couple ways. I can set it up just as a keyword, contextual keyword, and see how it does. Try to scrape the data warehouse for it. So it depends on the keyword. I mean, it just may not be a lot of content related to that keyword. I only know once I
in your data warehouse, not I scrape a whole new set of
keywords. No. But again, you need, for an ad group to have any chance of delivering at scale, you need to have like 10 to 20,000 places within that theme, you know.
Dave, are you thinking about selection bias again?
No, I'm actually thinking about just like how do you get more, because obviously if you base off frequency, like word count frequency, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a perfectly acceptable way, but that doesn't necessarily correlate to like topics, right? And tag. So it's like, what are there ways that we can better look at neighbors and understand correlation against like like looking at the almost the relation level of it for like one extra layer in of like which keywords are relating to which keywords and how strong are those relations, and that should also inform how like things that you look at,
Right, come up with a different remarketing
as well as
way.
things like
That makes sense. You're defining marketing on a relationship basis, not a. Well,
right,
I
'cause
think
you're
the
gonna,
implication there. I think the implication is that they are related because when you sum it up, the ones that are most frequently appearing, clustering together, right?
yeah, it implies the most overlap, but like I think because of the fact people suck at tagging things,
Yeah, makes sense.
it's interesting to look at some other dimensions there. I think the other thing that could be, which is I know we talked about this last time around, but where it could be interesting when we start getting into this categorization tagging aspect of things is looking at some like a keyword category, like some categorizers like. Watson has a linguistic API. Reuters has a tagging API. It's a good like social tagging. Say descriptions, and they could say like, oh, this is like Simpsons. This is related to this cultural event, things like that, to provide additional context and additional ways to look at keywords.
Interesting. That sounds expensive, David.
Depends.
Watson and I say that sounds expensive.
No, I know. I said it depends.
Okay. Well, we can be thoughtful
Anyway.
because we were like marketing. All right. Do we need to cover things like affinities and in-market keywords?
No,
No,
those
are
are
the category affinities that are already in YouTube, right?
yes, already in YouTube and based on cookie data across Google. What Google knows about that user's affinities. What
Are
they
you
think they
accessing
know.
that?
It's in their interests. So it's essentially just plus interest, add either a affinity or an in-market audience, and then just
you
choose
just click
which
through it?
one. Yeah. Click
And is
through
there
it.
rhyme or reason to this? There's no quantified way you do it, or you just
Well, again,
or affinity?
the account manager will give me the initial affinities,
Okay.
and then from there I just optimize them. What also can give me affinities again is Google
Optimize them
Analytics.
using bid. Optimizing by bid. You don't
No,
optimize again.
no, those I would be turning on, or I would
Okay.
be potentially turning them off if they were underperforming
Got it.
within that ad group.
Got it.
So it's either, the way it's right now, it's through intuition, but I think it works better if that advertiser's audience through their GA account, because we
Yes.
can pick up all the best and the worst affinities for that advertiser.
Makes sense. And do we know, David, I guess yes, if we have access to someone's Google Analytics and Google AdWords, we can, yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, just checking. Affinities, keywords, topics works like affinities.
Yeah, it's
Right.
yeah, YouTube verticals.
Placement is just the video IDs for YouTube,
Mhm.
and then we just covered remarketing. I noticed you had different ad groups included, which I think we understand. What other ones did you have?
So verticals is topics, and market is that, managed channels. So,
In your tables. I think it was in your DMP tables. Was that where you had more? I remember seeing that channels was separate.
Oh yeah, that's in the.
Let's take a look at the DMP again to make sure we haven't forgotten anything.
And there's like more
But you guys use
Channel
these 5 the
metadata.
most.
It's different. These are like targeting things. And the other one is, I mean, channel, we would target by channel. There's information that's like channel name, data, tags.
Do you use
like
that?
That's used for like identification purposes, to like identify those placements, but we don't like, those aren't things that we can set up for targeting.
Right, okay.
Okay, what else?
Can you head back to the DMP, your DMP first? Okay, so what did you, I'm sorry again.
It's okay.
I'm
okay.
fake flirting with you. There's someplace where I saw you had, it said channel, or maybe it was in your super metrics where you had ad groups and it had the use like affinities, keywords, topics, placements. You had channels broken out as something separate. I think it was your super metrics.
Periscope, where had them all
Possibly.
organized by category? Statistics?
Possibly. Take a look. View of all your ad groups.
That's
That might be
ad
yours. Maybe. No, I remember seeing it as a vertical. David's like, hey, shut up. Okay, never mind. It's fine. We'll figure it out in the video. Okay. Any more questions?
Not on the optimizations. I mean, not right now. Not if anything I've seen. I think the big thing for me is I'm at a point where I think like getting access to some of the data and some of the stuff just to get just a better grasp around some of the nuances and some of the relationships there. And I think the second thing is really starting to sit down, Becky, with you and I think mapping out the flows as they stand now and then sort of feeding those back and being like, this is kind of what is understood to be currently happening, and then defining feature set kind of against that stuff.
Yeah, totally. So I know we also absorbed a lot of information and we should probably go through this video and make sure we don't miss anything at the end. Anything we haven't covered yet? We could deep dive into a million different things, right? But have we missed anything from a process perspective, top level, so we can at least start the modeling?
I think so. We haven't really talked about much about it before.
Yeah, well.
Getting up to from setup to optimization, and that's it. That's what I said.
I think that on the analytics piece, it's like a broader question because the way to get non-clients to give you their access to their data, which helps grow the DMP, right?
Yeah.
So it's a different kind of tactic, but we don't need to answer that now. I think we want to model this enough so that we can, I would say, this might be a product roadmap, potential phasing, model what you're doing, right?
Basically, so you're talking about having like schematics that show the workflow,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
User from a user perspective, a data
We've
perspective.
never really done that.
I think
And that would be, it's important to make sure to have, there's no discrepancy between what's actually happening and what you guys
that's right.
conceive of what's happening.
Yeah, because I think the first like thing that I would really want to do is, again, because it is so data intensive what goes on, and there has been a lot to consume, is like getting a real clear flow of like how all of that is currently moving around and what that is currently doing. And making sure that we're all super aligned on that in a paper, in like in a functional spec point of way, where it's like actual flow diagrams, actual documentation to say, cool, we are agreed this is kind of what happens right now. And there will be parts in there that's like, you know, Brent uses his brain to like come up with insights, obviously. But just getting that clear, because then from there we can say, okay, we want to accomplish these things, you know, and here's how we evolve this system to get to those things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you put together the schematic that shows the workflow, and then down in well, what does it take to do each piece? What's the benefit of each piece, and then you can phase it out, and that there's your product roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
At the first phase, then you do a product requirement document.
We will do a BRD. We might do a BRD, but we
These are
might not.
similar- these are similar anyway.
Yeah, we might skip some of that only because I think we want to get enough of it documented so that when your technical team takes over, they're like, we're gonna cut this, and we have like documentation that we know is probably going to be optimized, but whatever output is useful for everybody.
Yeah.
I think we will also I think we'll have like a top line conversation, which you should be involved in, around analytics, because it sounds like there's like a step before, which is as a business unit, you guys need to decide like a broader market analysis that you would tackle to say, you know, analytics is a way to unlock access to
additional
data. So
right.
we need to build that, but we won't do it until we've got the internal operations optimized. You may choose to do that before you make the SMB interface. Like, you guys, we need to sort of decide how important it is to tackle this inventory challenge that comes from only having 400,000. And by the way, I don't mean only as in like a dismissive pejorative, but there are obviously many more. You go because you're probably knackered.
Knackered for hanging out with a bunch of British people?
Well, my wife.
Right. Or maybe you're shattered.
Shattered, yes. Destroyed. Yeah, no, cool. Yeah, so cool. Yeah, I think if I have any more questions, I think we'll Becky and I were a group, but what's Brent, and just this is actually a general engagement question, but what's the best way to communicate? Like, is there Slack or GChat or emails? Slack?
Yeah. We have a product channel within Slack, so we'll just add you guys to it.
Cool.
Awesome. And then want to figure out logins at some point. Work, and we can see it. All right, thanks, Dave. Cool. I will touch base with you later tonight, and then chat with you tomorrow.
Amazing. Bye, guys.
Hey.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you.